This is not always an easy gospel passage for me to relate to, and I suspect it may be difficult for you as well. When I went to high school many years ago, I remember my father having a talk with me and telling me to make sure that I always had a few dollars in my pocket. I had odd jobs after school, and he felt it was important that I did not go out into the world without money. As I grew older, I continued to make sure that I had money in my pocket and that my basic needs were taken care of. I always have the modern day equivalent to a walking staff, a car. I always have shoes and sometimes even sandals on my feet. And as you can see, I don't miss too many meals. So this is not a gospel for me that's easy to relate to, because sometimes I feel like I do the exact opposite of what Jesus is telling the disciples to do. I am well prepared for the perils of the world. I am defended and well taken care of. So how are we modern day people to respond to this call of Jesus? Well, sisters and brothers, I don't think for 1 minute that we are supposed to get rid of our security. We're obliged to take care of ourselves and our families. We must put shoes on our feet and food on our tables. We must protect ourselves from violence and all forms of evil. No, Jesus isn't calling us to let go of all these things. I believe, sisters and brothers, that Jesus is calling us to travel light. He's calling us to keep in mind that our ultimate security is not tied up in the strategies of self-defense. He's calling us to keep in mind that our identities are not found in our material possessions. Jesus never tells us to ignore our security or give up our possessions. Rather, he calls us to be sure that we do not love our security and our belongings more than we love ourselves, our neighbor, and our God. Central to the call of Jesus is to love one another without reserve. And without reserve means that we will put our families, friends, and even strangers above our needs for security and material possessions. This is not easy, but Jesus never said it would be easy. As Christians, as people of faith, we are called to go forth and proclaim the kingdom of God. That is what Jesus told his disciples to do, and it is what he is telling us to do. We must proclaim the kingdom of God without the burden of our worldly affairs and possessions. We must proclaim the kingdom of God by putting people above our possessions. We must proclaim the kingdom of God by making sure that we forgive one another and love one another, because the kingdom of God is wrapped up in forgiveness and love. The lack of material support, food, and money that Jesus speaks of in the gospel are signs of our total reliance on God and of our freedom. Ultimately, sisters and brothers, it is our reliance on God and our freedom that are most important in our lives. They also go hand in hand. When we are free of the things that bog us down, then we can easily love and forgive. When we are free of the things that our society tells us are important, then we can see the true value and dignity of each person we encounter. When we are free to define ourselves by our relationships with one another, before defining ourselves by our job, our address, or our income, then we will know what it means to rely on God. Because God does not care about addresses, jobs, and income. God cares about your heart and about your relationships. So leave your anger behind. Let go of your grudges. Break through and be rid of your prejudice. To be free of all those things means that we really totally rely on God, the God that we find in our loving and forgiving relationships with one another. Don't run out and sell everything you have. That will not bring you closer to the kingdom of God. Don't go into the world without protection. That might bring you to heaven a little quicker than you thought, but it won't bring the rest of us any closer to the kingdom of God. Keep what you have. Take care of yourself and your family. Just remember what is really important. It isn't what you have, but who you are. How you forgive and how you love is more important than any worldly possession. How you forgive and how you love will save you. How you forgive and how you love will save the world. How you forgive and how you love will bring forth the kingdom of God. Praise be Jesus Christ.